listeners, it's me, your pumpkin-headed host, Gourdy, with another beautiful tale from Diana Blakely. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What one finds beautiful might leave another unmoved. But what about how we see ourselves? I mean, some might look at me and think I'm a hideous monster. I, however, think I'm the best-looking pumpkin in the patch. Who's to judge? This week's story is Beauty is the Beast. Enjoy.
Beauty is the Beast. She could only move her eyes. That was the first thing she realized. Her hands tingled, poised above her head, creating an oval with the fingertips touching. Back straight, chest up, head held in a proud posture, her body ached with the need to relax. Her legs crossed at the knee, all her weight supported on her toes. Although her breath plumed bursts of steam from her nose and her skin rippled with goosebumps, sweat ran down her forehead and mingled with her tears. Her breath quickened, her heart sprinted in her chest. She darted her eyes left, right, up, down. Where the hell was she? With a loud pop, a spotlight illuminated her, leaving the rest of the room in darkness, blinding her as to the surroundings. The only thing she knew for sure was that whatever surface she was poised on was slowly rotating to the right, and the melody of Love Story tinkled through the room, seeming to come from beneath her feet, the sound of a music box. The music played too slowly. Some of the tines were off key. Each note rang through her throbbing head as the platform continued its revolution. Dust motes swirled in her breath. Her eyes stung, but she couldn't blink. She tried to call out, but her lips, forced into a smile, wouldn't part. Her voice was muffled, nearly inaudible above the sound of the music. She looked up as far as her eye muscles would allow, straining to see what held up her arms, but couldn't make out anything above her elbows. She looked down to try and see her body, but her vision only went as far as the edge of the circular platform and the lip of what looked like a stage. Beyond that, the darkness stretched on and on, only vague shadows indicating how far back it went. There was a whirring mechanical noise beneath her feet and the faint sense of vibration, but that could also just be her nerves dying from holding this position for so long. Muscles shivered and contracted, the ache intensifying with the need to crumple, but whatever held her in place prevented even a small release. From the corner of her eye, she saw the edge of something slowly coming into view. It reminded her of a lid on a large trunk she once had when she was a girl. A hope chest, her mother had called it. It was meant to be filled with all the things she would need when she got married and started a family, when she became a woman. Inside there were crystal wine glasses, a beautiful set of silver and fine china, white plates laced with blue flowers. These were handed down from her grandmother's grandmother, precious heirlooms. Also inside were her great-grandmother's wedding ring crusted with small diamonds in the shape of a flower meant to complement a solitaire engagement ring, and her mother's wedding dress meant for her to wear. Her mother had been a size 2 on her wedding day, so she had always worked hard to maintain a slender figure to make sure she would fit the dress when her special day came. She remembered one day in particular from her childhood. She'd been looking at the dress. "I hope I can fit into it when I get married," she said to her mother, holding the dress up to her body. It already looked too small for her, despite the fact that she was only 10 years old and hadn't even started developing hips or breasts yet. Mother scrutinized her in the mirror. "Worst case scenario, we could always get you liposuction." She squeezed a small amount of skin just below her shoulder blades. "Don't want to be a muffin top now, do we?" She cupped her daughter's chin and looked into her eyes. And if you want to take care of your nose when you're 16, I'm happy to pay for the surgery." She remembered the sting of tears that she choked back so as not to appear weak in front of her mother. "It hurts to be beautiful," her mother said. She placed the dress back in the hope chest and locked it up. She would be perfect, she swore to herself. She had gotten the nose job, the boob job, the Botox in the lips, everything to give her the perfect shape, the perfect face. It hurts to be beautiful. That phrase had always stuck with her when getting her nails done, wearing the high heels that made her feet ache day after day, the makeup that made her skin break out, the hours spent frosting her hair at the salon, the strict dieting and exercise programs her mother put her through while growing up. No muffin top on this girl, and no need for liposuction, thank goodness. Once on the lips, forever on the hips, her mother used to say. God, how she wanted to be like her mother. So perfect, so feminine, so beautiful. Her mother was like a goddess to her. Her whole life she lived by her mother's example. She never left the house without full makeup and styled hair, carefully picked outfit with accent jewelry. Heck, she didn't even sit around the house without being made up. You never knew who might come by. Who cares that it took her 3 hours in the morning to look good? It was worth it to always know that she was gorgeous at any time. She hated those pictures people posted on social media that said, "Just woke up like this." Yeah, right. And her goldfish knows how to fetch. No one woke up like that unless they'd magically conditioned themselves to style their hair and apply flawless makeup in their sleep. No, looking like this took skill and dedication, baby. But how did she end up here? She really didn't know. The last thing she remembered was getting ready for bed, another routine that took at least an hour each night of exfoliating, creams, lotions, masks, curlers, and turning out the lights. After that, nothing but waking up here, forced into this pose, unable to move. The lid rotated into view. She could see the inside of it now. Enlarged Polaroids of her were tacked up, pictures of her sleeping, pictures of her sitting on the toilet looking at her phone, mud masks smeared over her face, pictures of her in the shower shaving her legs, pictures of her at the beauty salon with her hair looking like a crazy lion's mane striped with foil, pictures of her sitting on the floor of her kitchen in the light of the open freezer, crying while she ate ice cream out of the container. Images of herself she never wanted anyone to see. These were images of her when she did not look her best, her private moments, her vulnerable moments. And who had taken them? Her face burned with anger and embarrassment, but her smile never faltered. It couldn't. She kept spinning on her pedestal. A gilded frame came into view. Slowly, so slowly. But she couldn't tear her eyes away from those humiliating images. Was someone trying to blackmail her? She'd pay anything to keep the public from seeing her like that. She cried out again, nothing but muffled groans that could have been syllables if she could move her tongue. The gilded frame encircled a full-body mirror. As she spun to face it, she saw that whoever brought her here had dressed her in a pink ruffled tutu, white tights, pink onesie, and pink satin slippers that laced up her calves. Her hair was pulled back into a tight bun, but wisps and strands hung loose, catching the glow of the spotlight to create a frizzy corona around her head. White face paint caked her skin with what seemed to be the intention of making her look like a porcelain doll, but sweat streaked through it, creating a melted grimace. Bright red paint shaped her lips into a heart like a geisha, and her forced smile pushed up her cheeks. Fake lashes hung askew, and mascara ran down her face. A muted scream stopped at her lips. The distorted music tinkled on. She held a dancer's pose, body erect, arms above her head. She was a twirling ballerina. She wanted to close her eyes, but was forced to stare at herself in this oval mirror that reflected only her image. Everything behind her was lost to shadow. A monster. That's what the mirror reflected. She looked hard to the left of the mirror at the images of her private moments and realized that the person she saw there, the woman she always thought was ugly unless made up to her high standards of beauty, was actually quite beautiful in her vulnerable moments. This sad girl that no one ever saw, the one who cried out for acceptance, had been locked away inside that hope chest since she was a child, the hope being that no one would ever see her awkward, goofy, non-sexy side, the side she never even looked at when alone. And now all she could see was this ugly version of herself, made up like a clown, forced into this pose, a ballerina, the epitome of grace and beauty. How many ballet lessons? How many nights vomiting after a date because she didn't want to be the girl who wouldn't eat, but couldn't afford the calories? It hurts to be beautiful. And who did she know that would do this to her? In fact, who did she know? Not only did she fail to come up with a single enemy that might put her through this, but she also couldn't think of a single person to call on for help. Anyone she called would see her pictures, would see her. She revolved away from the mirror, turning to face the darkness again. Once the lid was out of her sight, the spotlight shut off. The only sound was that of her sobs, but eventually even that ceased. Large hinges creaked behind her. The cold glass of the mirror hit her fingers and slid down her body, pushed her forward from a hinge at her toes. Body stiff, the lid slid her into a horizontal position, creating a slight release of tension in her legs. Her nose grazed the wood of the platform, which indicated the end of her descent. The lid snicked shut. The clump of footsteps approached the box. The loud sound of a key sliding into a lock thundered around her. Tumblers clicked as they fell into place. The footsteps receded. She would be alone with herself until whoever had her here wanted to look at her again. That's all she was anyway, just something pretty to look at.
I can barely hold this pose for a minute, let alone for eternity. And if that poor girl can't see her own beauty, then at least someone else will be admiring her for all eternity. Am I right? Until next time, creep it real, my friends. Bye!